This hour, more than 100 perpetrators are being accused of sexual misconduct with minors in the Archdiocese of New York. It is just the latest revelation in a global crisis. And at the Vatican today, Pope Francis called for action in the ongoing priest sexual abuse scandal, asking those within the Catholic Church to, quote, listen to the cry of the children.
In the face of this scourge of sexual abuse perpetrated by men of the Church to the detriment of minors, I thought that I would summon you, patriarchs, cardinals, archbishops, bishops, religious superiors, so that all together we may lend an ear and listen to the Holy Spirit, and with obedience and docility to his guide, and listen to the cry of the small who are asking for justice.
This thing is unbelievable. The historic summit comes amid years of countless allegations of sexual abuse within the Catholic Church, a body of faith that currently has 1.2 billion followers around the world. And of those followers, 414,000 of them are Roman Catholic priests, many of whom were allegedly involved in the attacks and covered them up for decades. The church is so powerful, it owns 300,000 square miles of property. Just to give you an idea, that is almost double the size of California's entire land area. The Vatican Bank is so rich, it currently has $8 billion with a B dollars in assets. But get this, please. Over $3 billion have been awarded in settlements to victims of sexual abuse dating all the way back to 1950. The allegations of abuse span across continents, but in the United States alone, the latest Bishop's report received allegations from 18,565 victims. Here are the heart-wrenching stories of just some of those victims.
I was groomed starting young.
The day I met him, I was around 18 months old.
They targeted me because I was fatherless.
We were taught, I mean, the priests and the nuns are God.
Just think, like, the word God makes me think of him, and I just...
Who would have believed me? A priest in 1948 or 47 would abuse you? Do that? Never heard of such a thing because they covered it up.
It's very lonely. Especially when it's your word against God's.
Joining me now, NBC's Ann Thompson. She's at the Vatican, and Boston attorney who represents victims of clergy sexual abuse, Mitchell Garabedian. I thank you both for your work. Ann, let's talk to you first. Walk me through other developments from this morning's hearing. When you and I spoke this morning and got this sort of 21-point handbook of how to handle things, it blew my mind that I would think you don't need 21 points. You need call the police.
Well, I think what Pope Francis did with those 21 points is there are ideas from bishops around the world. And part of the issue here, Stephanie, is that different countries are in different places on this journey, if you will. The United States has been through this. I mean, we've been through 3 decades of this. We know the pain. Not every country has had the kind of revelations yet that the United States has had. But again, those 21 points are just a starting point, if you will, for the discussions that will happen over the next few days. Still, from survivors, they are not getting rave reviews, in part because there is no mention of zero tolerance, and there is also no mention of publicly naming priests who are credibly accused. But most important of all for survivor groups is that the Vatican say and promise and say, look, we're going to fire bishops who covered this up. And no matter what the policy changes are, at least one survivor group says, look, until they do that and do that consistently, nope, it doesn't matter if there are 21 points or 2 points, nothing will change.
That's the last thing you want to hear. Mitchell, you covered these cases extensively, particularly in the explosive Boston scandal. What is your thought about the Pope's comments today? Do you expect any change going forward?
No, I don't expect any change. The last thing that the Catholic Church needs right now is another awareness conference. That for over a century, tens of thousands of innocent children have been sexually abused while priests knowingly covered it up, while the higher echelons in the church knowingly covered it up. It's time for action. It's time to stop insulting and re-victimizing victims with these meetings about that only contain talk and not action. It's time to release the secret files which indicate the cover-up, which indicate who the perpetrating priests were, who the sexually abused priests were. It's time to list priests as sexual abusers. It's time, as you stated earlier, to call the police. It's time to defrock those priests, and it's time to stop opposing statute of limitations.
Mitchell,
you can be in any country in the world and know that abusing a little child, a young child, is wrong. You don't need a conference for that.
well, given what the Pope has said thus far today, and that you basically think it's hogwash, if not him, is there any window of hope that something could change? If the Pope's not going to do it, can anyone else?
Well, I believe that society has raised its awareness level through the work of advocates and victims to the point of where they realize they cannot trust their children in the presence of priests, and they better watch their children, which wasn't the view decades ago. And I think people realize, okay, we have to watch a little Johnny, a little Jane when they're with the priest, because we don't know what the priest is going to be up to. And the supervising priest is not going to protect that child any more than the perpetrating priest is.
A priest. People go to the church for spiritual and cultural guidance. For many kids, a priest is like a second father, sometimes an only one. This is so upsetting.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.